Welcome to Leadership Reimagined, where game-changing conversations are reshaping the world of work. I'm Janice Ellig, the CEO and founder of Ellig Group, Executive Search Advisors, where we are reimagining search through our long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. On today's topic, Fueling the Future, the Chevron Way, I am delighted to welcome Mike Wirth, Chairman of the Board and the Chief Executive Officer of Chevron Corporation since 2018 and Vice Chair of the Board since 2017. Graduating from the University of Colorado Boulder in 1982 with a degree in chemical engineering, he started at Chevron as a design engineer. Mike has had multiple positions at Chevron, including Executive Vice President of Midstream and Development, where he was responsible for the shipping, supply, and trading, and pipeline and power operating units, as well as for Chevron's strategy, business development, and corporate affairs. Prior, he was EVP of Downstream and Chemicals and President of Global Supply and Trading. Mike serves on the boards of directors at Catalyst, also chairman of the board of the American Petroleum Institute, and is a member of the National Petroleum Council, the Business Roundtable, the World Economic Forum International Business Council, and the American Society of Corporate Executives. He's a very busy executive, and I'm delighted to welcome him here today. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Janice, it's nice to be with you today.
You are in a evolving, really demanding profession, and as CEO of Chevron. After 36 years, you became the CEO in 2018. So you've had a background in many positions at Chevron. How did they prepare you for this role in this very dynamic oil and gas industry?
Well, as a global company, we have operations around the world, and we have very diverse functions and businesses. And I sometimes tell young people who tend to think about moving from company to gain experiences that I've had 20 different careers with the benefit of all of those being with one company. So I started out as a design engineer. I moved into strategy and planning roles, real estate, corporate affairs, marketing, refining operations, business development, trading thing. And so very diverse and different responsibilities, all while being part of the same culture, understanding the long cycle nature of a business that's very capital intensive and makes investments that have to be paid out over decades. And so the nature of our company has afforded me these very diverse experiences, which I think are really valuable as you move into senior positions in an organization, and certainly the CEO role that I occupy today. And I talk to my own children even, and this is not the norm in most companies these days, and so I feel very fortunate to have had such great experiences to prepare me for what I do today.
It is not the norm. And I guess you're looking also at your own employees and saying, how do we keep them here for a full career where they have many different experiences and positions? And of course, you followed three former CEOs who I understand you're friends with, you live nearby. And the former Chevron CEO, John Watson, had said of your appointment to CEO that Mike Wirth has that broad expertise. He was selected because of his track record of accomplishment and breadth of leadership. And an equities analyst said, Mike is exactly what Chevron needs. Refining executives are much more returns focused and less worried about finding the next barrel of oil. So obviously, you've had great mentors in the former CEOs. You know the nuts and bolts of the industry. And so you're encouraging others to stay.
Yeah, we do value that long service. It's a long cycle business. In order to do that, you have to create a culture that people feel part of. Diversity and inclusion is a big part of that. We want to have employees that represent all different educational backgrounds, national backgrounds as we work globally, ethnicities and racial makeup, and then to create a culture where everybody's voice is heard, everybody's contributions are valued, and where people can be their very best and they can fulfill their own aspirations, which can be very different. Some people would like to move around the world and do different things. Other people like to stay in the same place and rise in an area of expertise. So we try to create a set of opportunities that everybody can find a path that's rewarding and fulfilling for them as it fits into their life's goals. You mentioned my predecessors. I'm very fortunate to have the three former CEOs, each of whom served about a decade in that role, as good friends. This is not a company where CEO transitions are acrimonious or competitive, but where the transitions have been very smooth and collaborative. And I meet with them frequently. They all live very close to where I live. And I just had them all in for lunch, as a matter of fact, last week, where I update them on what's going on in the company and in the industry. And I also ask questions about the history, about their experiences as they've gone through, various world events that have challenged the global economy, our industry, and I can draw on their experience as I face the challenges that we see today.
Yeah, it's great to have their wisdom there because with Chevron, you've got about 38,000 employees. Is that right? Over in 50 countries globally. And
That's
so,
correct.
yeah, so you're trying to meet those demands of handling about 3 million barrels of oil and gas a day, while also you're striving to be a leader for innovation for cleaner energy solutions. So you call that a dual challenge, and it's for the industry overall in terms of reducing carbon emissions. How are you meeting these dual challenges?
Well, it's the great opportunity that faces our industry and our company, which is to meet the energy needs of society and the global economy today, and at the same time build an energy system that's a lower carbon energy system for tomorrow. The economy today runs primarily on oil, gas, and coal. 80% of current energy system are these traditional sources of energy, and about 20% are renewables, nuclear, hydropower, et cetera. And as the population grows and as the middle class grows, demand for energy continues to go up, and society's expectations for lower emissions is rising at the same time. So we're committed to a lower carbon oil and gas energy system. We've reduced our emissions since the signing of the Paris Agreement significantly and are on a path to continue to do more of that. And at the same time, investing in new energy products like renewable fuels, hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, geothermal, and other technologies that can help meet the needs of society in a way that doesn't have the same greenhouse gas emissions impact as the energy system today. So it requires innovation. It requires many different solutions. The scale of the energy system is truly enormous, and we need to find solutions that can work at a scale so they make a difference at scale. And all these things will affect the pace at which we can progress along this pathway. But our company has great skills and capabilities in engineering and project management, in innovation, in operations, in risk management that position us well to bring these new energy products into the marketplace.
Yeah, there are parts of the world that really don't have the conveniences that we have here in the States. So you're looking at how do you also give them the energy sources to cook and to light their homes and things like that. At the same time, the world is saying carbon emissions have to come down. What's the reality here in terms of we can work on both? You've got a dual challenge. What's the reality in terms of a time frame that we should think about that while we want all the benefits of energy, we also don't want the carbon emissions?
Yeah, you raise a really important point, Janice. There are about 8 billion people on the planet today. A little bit over a billion of those enjoy the lifestyle that those of us in the United States or Europe or developed Asia enjoy. The rest of the, you know, uh, 6 to 7 billion people on the planet are on their path to that, but still don't have all the things that we tend to take for granted. And so we need to balance affordability, reliability, and environmental progress as we try to continue to evolve the energy system. If you go to sub-Saharan Africa, for instance, and try to bring sources of energy into the economy that people can't afford, it won't change lives because it simply can't. They can't afford to pay for it. If you have energy supplies that are affordable but they're not reliable, it doesn't change lives because you don't build hospitals and schools and factories that can operate reliably with intermittent energy supplies. And then if you can do the two of those, you're in a position where you also want to balance the environmental impact of these things. What we've seen, and this is particularly true with the experience in Europe over the last year or so, is when we focus so much on one of these in the environment in the case of Europe and take the other two for granted, we can inadvertently introduce the risk of unintended consequences. And as the affordability and the reliability of energy supplies for Europe was called into question last year, it created significant stresses on the system, big subsidies required from the government, the risk of a very difficult winter, which thankfully was averted. But it illustrates the importance of maintaining focus on all three of those as we work on this. And again, as I said, the pace at which we can proceed is going to be significantly defined by the solutions that can be scaled and the ability to draw capital to those so that we can invest in these solutions at a way that really makes a difference globally.
I know all of you in the energy area are working on this. Are we looking at decades in the future before this emissions problem is solved, or is it going to be gradual? What are we looking for in terms of a time frame?
Most of the credible analyses of this would suggest that we're looking at decades.
Okay.
We may see breakthroughs that accelerate that, but we're working against the laws of physics and thermodynamics and economics, which are stubborn. And there's a reason the energy system that we have today exists, is it meets the needs of the most people in a way that's most effective. And so many of these technologies I've mentioned, hydrogen, uh, uh, nuclear fusion, renewable fuels, a whole host of things, deeper penetration of electric vehicles into things beyond light duty transportation, all are very expensive today, and they struggle to meet the needs of the different consuming sectors. And so we've got to find ways to decarbonize steel manufacturing, cement manufacturing, agriculture, shipping, aviation, heavy industry in order to really make progress. And these require technology breakthroughs. They're going to require ingenuity in the application of those technologies, and then again the ability to mobilize capital markets at the many trillions of dollars of investment over time, and that's going to take decades, not years.
Well, you have three former Chevron CEOs. You have a great board. So you're very active in the industry. I know you're working on this. And I wanted to bring up your board because you have 50% of your board are female, which is not common in the Fortune 1000 and S&P 500. You're one of very few companies, less than 100. Um, what is the value that you've seen in your boardroom and in your C-suite with greater diversity?
Well, it's been compelling and inarguable. I know there's data and research that you've seen that shows that companies are better off when we elevate the capabilities of everybody. This begins with the board. Our six women directors are incredibly accomplished in their respective fields. They're on our board because they're fully qualified to be on our board, full stop. When you've got a board that has that kind of diversity and that kind of balance, uh, you have different conversations. We have a board that has a high level of trust and respect. And when we talk about issues, be it energy transition issues, one of my directors is a woman who was born in Zambia and has grown up was raised in sub-Saharan Africa and fully understands the energy challenges in that part of the world. Another one of my female directors is a PhD in chemical engineering who's been the president of two different universities and understands the perspective from the campus, which is where a lot of the strongest voices and most active climate, agenda can emanate from. Uh, Got another director who's a former CEO of a global aerospace company and defense contractor, and understands global business and the geopolitics that are involved. And so they bring tremendous depth and perspective and diverse points of view to the table on the business issues. They also really help on culture. And when we talk about building a more diverse workforce, a more inclusive culture, their personal experiences are ones that the men on the board have not lived. And they can speak up freely and say things that otherwise might not come up in our board discussions, which help set the tone for the leadership of the company and the culture of the company as we strive to improve representation at every level. So I just can't say enough about how much our company benefits from that diversity, how I think it's a competitive advantage, and it helps us build a culture that will attract the incredible diverse talent that we're going to need to take on these big challenges.
Right. So in a sector that's not, with have high percentages of diversity and specifically gender, you found these women because you were intentional, but you found people that really had the qualifications, and they just happened to be women. So I commend you for that. And I know at the Breakfast of Corporate Champions held by the Women's Forum of New York, we honored you in 2021. We'll honor you again this year for having over 50%. So congratulations on that. You also have earned the 15th perfect score for LGBT equality from the Human Rights Campaign. How does this commitment come about in terms of your inclusive policies and practices and your advice for other corporations in terms of achieving that perfect score?
We have a set of 5 values in what we call the Chevron Way, which is a document that codifies our purpose, our vision, our mission, our values. The first of those is diversity and inclusion. Putting people at the center of everything we do is fundamental to our success. Early in my career, more than 30 years ago, our company adopted same-sex benefits in our health and other employee benefit plans long before companies in our industry did this, and frankly, before companies in most industries adopted those kinds of benefits. We were among the very first in the entire U.S. economy. So for many decades, we've believed in the value of including diverse people, ideas, experiences in our company to deliver these energy solutions and to enable human progress. We've talked about the diversity at the top of the company at our board. We've also, for more than 2 decades, had a very robust set of employee networks, or some organizations call them employee resource groups. We've got over 20,000 members, so more than half of our workforce participates in these. We've got nearly 24 diversity councils around the world that help align the diversity and inclusion initiatives with our business strategies. I chair one called the Chairman's Inclusion Council, where the presidents of our employee networks sit down with me multiple times a year to give voice to their membership and make sure that I'm hearing the issues that their membership feels are important and critical in their lives, in advancing their careers, in being able to help us achieve our business objectives. And you started with our perfect score from the Human Rights Campaign. This is Pride Month, and our Pride Employee Network deserves a lot of credit for helping us see how we need to continue to create an environment where our LGBTQ employees find a place that they're comfortable being who they are. You can see the same results across other networks that we have. Our Veterans Network, our Enabled Network, which represents employees who have disabilities or who have family members or people that are close to them with disabilities, or XYZ Network, which allows us to hear from different generations. And so we've worked hard, and to use the word you did before, very intentionally, to make sure that we not only bring people with diverse backgrounds into the company, but that we find a way to make sure they feel welcome. They find others that share similar experiences, perspectives, and then we create an environment where they can bring their issues to the fore and have the conversations that are important to them in a way that is safe and encouraged and productive, and we can be sure that every one of those voices is heard.
As a recruiter in the executive search world, we really pride ourselves on our placement of women and underrepresented groups at over 80% in the C-suite and the boardroom. But our concern in working with clients is to make sure that what you just said, they have those inclusive policies. People feel like they belong. They want to make an impact. They want to stay with you because they know that you will treat everybody the same, and everybody has a voice. And it's so important. So let me turn for a moment to a letter you wrote to President Joe Biden in June of 2022, addressing concerns of high gas prices, his concerns of high gas prices at the time and global supply issues due to the war in Ukraine. You called on his I'll quote, whole of government philosophy to address this issue and honest dialogue. What was your intent here in terms of the geopolitical situation? And as a CEO, what were you trying to achieve in that letter?
Well, a year ago, as everyone will recall, we faced high energy prices as the Russian invasion of Ukraine was underway, and there were concerns about energy supply, as we discussed earlier, for Europe specifically, but more broadly for the world. The president had sent a letter to me that I felt was not a complete recognition of the global market dynamics, and it included some things that I just didn't agree with, and so I felt a responsibility to try to help him see the picture through my eyes and a more balanced view of the situation. The president has made reference to a whole of government effort to address climate change. I also tried to ask him to bring that same whole of government perspective to the issue of energy. And we talked earlier about having a more pragmatic and less polarized conversation about energy, one that balances economic prosperity, energy security, and environmental protection. And so I really wanted to ask the president, respond to the president's letter, and encourage this more balanced conversation, which I think has been lacking. The idea here was to acknowledge that high prices were not good for the economy, acknowledge that we need to focus on affordable energy, and we need to focus on reliable supply. Energy security and national security are inextricably linked, and that at the same time we need to continue to make progress on environmental issues. And this is a big, complex challenge, as we've been discussing. And we'd seen the administration move from an almost 100% focus on the environmental issues to then an almost 100% focus on affordability. And I think what it illustrated and what I was trying to point out is we can't just focus on one of these issues at a time. We actually need to balance affordability, reliability, and security, and environmental progress all at the same time. And we need a policy framework that allows us to continue to make progress with all three of those in mind and all three of those in balance. So that was the intent of the letter. We've continued to engage in dialogue with various parts of the administration subsequently, and I think there's more room for us to continue to do so.
Great. As a CEO on these issues, there are many issues one can take a stand on, and this one is really important from the company that you're running, right? So commend you on that to continue the discussion and less polarization and looking at all of the ways in which we can meet those needs of the world while striving for the innovation for cleaner energy solutions. You're also very involved in a not-for-profit world. Talk to us a little bit why these organizations are important to you in terms of for the youth of the world and the country. And just talk a little bit about your interest in the not-for-profit world and your alma mater as well.
Sure. So I'm one of four children. I'm the only one of my siblings that went into the private sector. My other three siblings are all in education, public education, school teachers, principals. And I grew up in a family where education was very important. I went to good public schools, and the critical role that a sound education plays in preparing young people to be successful in the world is one that I deeply believe in. And so my efforts have focused on things that align, frankly, with the company, which supports this as well. But my personal efforts have focused on education, especially for disadvantaged and underrepresented children, oftentimes first generation students, to try to move from high school into college, and to provide resources to help them with an education in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, math, which are part of almost every job in the modern economy, and a grounding in those basics is something that prepares young people to improve the quality of their lives and help address all of these opportunities in the world. So I give back of time and with other resources to a number of different organizations that have those themes at the core of their mission. And it's a small part of what I can do, and I'm fortunate to be around many other people who share those priorities, and I have a chance to collaborate with them and try to find a way to continue to make a difference for young people, including at my alma mater, but also with a variety of other organizations and institutions that I think do a fine job of this.
So, those graduating or those in other careers, what are the compelling reasons to come for a career at Chevron?
Well, we've got a an absolute commitment to being part of the energy solution. The opportunities for exciting innovation and to help solve these problems have never been greater during my 41 years than they are today. The explosion of information technologies, of advancements in material science, now artificial intelligence and tools that offer the ability for us to work on new solutions to these issues that are so important to society. It's just never been greater, and I think the ability to come into an organization with the resources to apply to these challenges with a culture that values everybody's unique qualities and skills and talents and perspectives is something that I'm absolutely committed to building and ensuring that every young person who joins our company has a chance to do work that's meaningful and fulfilling, both personally and in the bigger scheme of helping to continue to make the world a better place. So, we still get a tremendous response from our college recruiting efforts. We do a lot of hiring for non-degreed individuals as well to try to create opportunities for people that haven't had that as their pathway, and we intend to continue to do so. With good people, everything's possible, and I think our people are the best in the industry, and my job is to empower and support them, and give them the chance to be the best they can possibly be.
That's great, Mike. And you mentioned those without a 4-year degree. There are many roles for them to play, right? And you can do the skilling of them within Chevron's organization.
Absolutely. And college degree is one way to measure, somebody's competence or accomplishment, but it's not the only way. And oftentimes there are people that have tremendous skills and talents that didn't have the opportunity to get that degree. If we can find them and offer them the opportunities to advance and develop, they can do every bit as much as people that were on a different path.
Well, and you spent 41 years there, so I don't think you've been bored. You've had many careers. It's an exciting industry to be in, particularly with the innovation that's going on. So, as a leader in a major organization that is on the forefront of change today, what are some of your parting words to those who want to lead, be in your shoes, or in other roles, but really to move ahead in life, in their careers?
Well, I guess what I would say is that we're an energy company. We believe the future of energy is lower carbon. Chevron intends to lead in that future. Our strategy is very clear. We intend to leverage our strengths to deliver lower carbon energy to a growing world. This is essential to society's progress, We need to meet the expectations of society today, not only in the products we produce, but the way we treat people, the way we engage in society, and then work to transform the energy system of tomorrow. It's a tremendously exciting industry that sits at the intersection of economics, geopolitics, and technology. And as you said, it's never boring. And so I encourage people to follow their dreams, pursue their passions, and we look for people that have passions in the field where we work, and try to give them the best experience they could possibly have.
Well, this has been a really inspiring and insightful discussion on fueling the future the Chevron way. And what I've really come down to is you're really putting people at the center of your success. And I think that's so important as a leader, and then what you're doing for the world. So, Michael Wirth, CEO, Chair of Chevron, thank you so much for joining us today and providing this information for us as citizens of the world.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Janice. Thank you for the time to talk.
And to our audience, thank you for tuning in to another game-changing conversation on Leadership Reimagined. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or visit our website at elliggroup.com. Thank you for joining us today. And again, thank you to Michael Wirth.